What's up, guys? It's Chris Sarai bringing another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about GM and how they got some oxymoronic stuff going over there where it comes to their CEO and it comes to their plants. Then we're going to talk about car buyers as we get into this world where everybody's so afraid of the possibility of the prices of vehicles going sky high. Everybody's pretty much jumping out there to buy vehicles, and obviously it is a good time to buy with companies giving out employee pricing and things of that nature. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and we're going to talk, last but not least, we're going to talk about Tesla as China decides that it's going to stop accepting orders for Tesla over in China as this war with China ramps up. So let's start off with car buyers and everybody reacted to the whole tariffs and the whole Trump tariff situation. We have noticed that it has become a situation where a lot of companies are coming out with employee pricing, price matching, all these other things because of the tariffs, and that has made buying vehicles a fairly good idea right at this point. So I'm going to check out a quick story out on CNN. I think it's just a quick short, but we'll check it out as they talk about people who are out buying vehicles now with the fear of the Trump tariffs looming. Let's check it out.
Not going to be able to escape these tariffs. Every single car not going to be able to escape these tariffs. Every single car, make, and model will likely be affected by these 25% tariffs levied by the Trump administration on imported vehicles to the United States. Now, one of the dynamics I've been following is I've been talking to some customers, people essentially who are deciding now is the time to buy or lease a car before the effects of a price increase actually take place.
Have you ever had to think this macro about the economy when coming into lease a vehicle?
No, this is the first time.
No.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the prices are going to go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my assumption at the moment.
I
And
think
so we like to be proactive.
I'm sitting above water on the car I have, but then I was like, with prices going up, I have huge concerns about the tariffs and all the different ways that prices are going to go up, not just as related to, automobiles and auto parts, etc., but it's bad politics. It's not good for anybody.
Just a quick story with a couple of people just deciding that they're going to purchase vehicles right now, and it's just pretty much a fear tactic. But I would say that it is a good time to buy cars. A lot of people haven't been buying cars because of the prices of cars and everything like that. So of course, with the employee pricing that's being offered by certain companies, the price match and all of these other things are going to make it even a pretty good idea to buy a car right now. And I am not in the fear mode that these people are. I don't see prices on vehicles going sky high at any point whatsoever, unless you're going to decide that you're going to buy Chinese vehicles, which probably would not be a really good idea at this moment. But other than that, I don't see the price changing a lot. I like the idea of being proactive. I ain't going to, say anything bad about the brother saying that. But, the young woman was just talking about her fear of tariffs. And you sit here and being afraid of something that might happen that you not even sure is going to happen. That in itself is not a smart move. But if you need to buy, she says her other car was underwater or over water. I think she said it was underwater. So, it's probably still a good opportunity to buy a vehicle for her. But, it's just not a good idea to sit here in this fear situation when it comes to tariffs. Nobody has seen tariffs affect anybody. Everybody has watched as news people and commentators have stated that tariffs are going to destroy the automotive industry and raise prices skyrocketed and all these other things. And if you're not in the market of buying a car or you're not desperate to get a vehicle or anything like that, why would you care? It wouldn't affect you one bit. Until it gets to the point where you can see these things, you can't say that they're going to happen. This is just future casting by a lot of people. just a lot of fear mongering, just a lot of people who don't like Trump or and don't support the tariff situation, just spitting out a lot of things that you just can't prove at this point. There's just a lot of forecasting. That's all it is. It's forecasting. It's not true. It's just an idea on what may or may not happen. So to live your life in that fear of something happening to the point where it might make other things expensive for you when we're talking about things that directly you probably don't even need right now, it's kind of just putting the cart before the horse, as it were. So let's keep going. It's going to be a quick show. I want to talk about, of course, the battle royale that we're in with China right now, with the rising of the tariffs and everything else like that, and Trump raising it and they retaliating, and it's just getting massive when it comes to the back and forth with China that the U.S. is doing. Now, does it raise fears of opening up a situation where we go to war with China? I don't think so. I don't think it's reached a dew point that far. I think we've come to a realization that China has been getting over on us for a very long time, and we need to stop that. That we know that they use cheap labor to produce a lot of products. They produce a lot of cheap products, and as cheap people, to some degree, we jump all over it. You see a deal, you want to take it, and that's the way of the world. We can't, bypass that. That's what competition is. You want to get the best product for the cheapest price possible. China puts out fantastic products, and they put out cheap products, and they put out fantastic products that are cheap. So we just want a fair playing field when it comes to China, and that's what I think Trump's goal is. And China is fighting against that because China knows that it's always benefited a lot from how the way things were. So let's check out the story. We're talking about China halting Tesla orders from coming into China. Something that China has been doing with other automotive vehicles for quite some time, and we just didn't know about it. Let's check it out.
And Tesla has paused new orders for its US-made Model S and Model X vehicles in China, a move that underscores the growing fallout from the escalating US-China trade war. The suspension, quietly implemented on Tesla's Chinese website and WeChat mini program, comes as both nations trade tariff hikes that are sending ripples through the global auto industry. Now, while the Model S and Model X account for less than 0.5% of Tesla's 2024 China deliveries, the implications stretch far beyond Tesla. The decision highlights how rapidly shifting trade dynamics and rising tariffs are destabilizing cross-border automotive commerce. Automakers that rely on global supply chains now face sharp increases in production and retail costs, particularly in key markets like China, the world's largest EV market. Tesla is somewhat insulated thanks to its Shanghai Gigafactory, which produces the high-volume Model 3 and Model Y. However, the tariff war creates mounting pressure for all automakers, especially those exporting luxury or specialized models. From the US, analysts say that the broader industry faces a turbulent period with increased costs shifting consumer demand and potential reshoring of production. Tesla may absorb the blow with minimal short-term damage. The global auto sector is bracing for deeper disruption as trade tensions continue to rise.
So, let's face it, this whole U.S. against China thing is not going to stop. It's going to affect a lot of things. I don't foresee it affecting, I don't know. It's one of those situations that could get a lot worse before it gets better. We have to realize that what Trump is trying to do is to get China to realize that they've been getting over on us for a long time, and he just wants reciprocity when it comes to, imports and exports, specifically with the automotive industry and steel. And China doesn't want none of that. China wants to stay the status quo. China wants to continue to ship as many of its products into the U.S. and deny as many of the U.S. products over into China as it wants to. And it doesn't want it to change. It's just one of them situations where you get into a situation just like with a girl. You give her everything all up front, and then you decide later on that you don't want to give her everything anymore. She's going to be mad about that. And she's going to throw a tantrum and fight back. And that's why you can't do that in reality. So, we're in a situation where we've been giving all these things to all these countries. We've been so nice to all these countries. And now we're asking for them to be nice to us. And they're that bad girlfriend. They don't want to be nice to us because they never had to be. They were never in any situation which forced them to be nice to us. So they don't know what that feels like. And they're fighting against it. Now, most other countries have accepted it. They are being good girlfriends, as it were, and accepting that, we've given a lot to them already and they just need to start giving a little bit to us. I mean, they've already, reached agreements with like 75 countries. So we know that it's a situation that can be worked out, but China is one of those girlfriends that's like a 9 or 10 that really doesn't have to accept your changes, if you know what I mean. China is one of them countries that, looks real good, and, what she provides is good things in and out the house. So she, or China, feels like it doesn't have to change. Doesn't have to do anything for her man because she's one of those 9 or 10s that in all situations everybody's doing for her. And Trump ain't like that. Trump don't want a trophy wife. Trump don't want a woman that just sits over there looking pretty but doesn't provide. So, and that's what this war is all about, and it's going to get very interesting. I don't foresee it going to a situation where we get into fisticuffs or anything like that, but it's going to have to be some serious negotiation going on, and as I've said forever, that's what these tariffs are. Fantastic negotiation tactics. All right, let's keep it going. Now, this last bit, we're going to jump into a whole bunch of GM. Okay? GM has decided that not only is it going to pay they GM major money, but they're going to idle some plants for a couple months, and they got a whole bunch of inventory just sitting over somewhere. GM is one of those companies that they keep saying is doing good, but then, slightly in the back, they're saying that they're doing bad. So let's check out a couple of these stories. It's going to be readers from, of course, our favorite news source, Automotive News. But we're going to read these stories about what's going on with GM. Now, the first one we're going to talk about how they're about to idle a plant, a backdrop plant. So read the story, explain to y'all what the... here, let's go. GM to idle Cami bright drop plant in Ontario for 5 months. Okay, and this is from David Kennedy. This is from April 11th. General Motors plans to idle its Cami assembly plant in Ingersoll, Ontario for about 5 months, leaving 1,200 workers on layoff through the summer, according to Unifor, which represents hourly staff there. The company informed membership April 11th that most workers will be placed on temporary layoff April 14th. Members will be brought back for a limited production in May, which means they won't get full-time anymore, after which the plant will be idle until October, the union said. There is a crushing blow to hundreds of working families in Ingersoll and the surrounding region who depend on this plant, Unifor President Lena Payne said in a release. She called on GM to do everything in its power to mitigate job loss during the downturn and on government to step up to support Canadian auto workers and Canadian-made products. Carney, I hope you're listening. GM Canada said the move is designed to balance inventory and align production schedules with current demand. GM remains committed to the future of bright drop in the Cami plant and will support employees through the transition, the company said in a statement. What does that mean? Make sure y'all can get I mean, what does it mean? You're going to make sure y'all can get unemployment? That's what it means. You know what they're going to do? They're going to give y'all those unemployment packages. You ever been in one of those companies that's getting layoffs or about to put you on leave? They give you an unemployment package showing you how to get employment, showing you how to look for other jobs, showing you temporary jobs that's available. Crazy. BrightDrop sales have fallen well short of company expectations from the outset. GM sold just 18 of the vans in Canada in the first quarter of 2025 and 274 in the United States, according to the Automotive News Research and Data Center in Detroit. Last year, it sold just under 2,000 of the vans in the United States and Canada. Yikes. According to Unifor Local 88, GM must sell about 5,000 vehicles per month to sustain a single shift of production. Whew. While GM did not address this simmering trade war, the operational changes come little more than a week after U.S. President Donald Trump enacted up to 25% tariffs on vehicle imports from Canada and other countries. The U.S. levy has left workers across Canada's auto industry on edge and already prompted Stellantis to initiate a 2-week shutdown at its assembly plant in Windsor as the company weighs the impact of tariffs. Output at CAMI, midway between Toronto and Detroit, has proceeded in fits and starts since it was retooled to build BrightDrop vans in 2022. The unionized workforce faced months of downtime in both 2023 and 2024 when the plant was operational. Most staff were working part-time, sharing a single shift of production. To supplement van production, GM added a battery module and pack plant adjacent to the main plant in 2024, which employs about 200. In February, the automaker added a second shift of BrightDrop production to CAMI, bringing its workforce back to full-time. The same month, it laid off 79 junior employees, citing ongoing adjustments to staffing levels to align with production. While CAMI going down is not good news, the impact on the wider Ontario supply chain is relatively negligible, according to Brendan Sweeney, Managing Director of the Trillium Network for Advanced Manufacturing, which advocates on behalf of Ontario manufacturers. The plant has several local suppliers, he said, but many BrightDrop components come from the United States, which will soften the local fallout of the temporary shutdown. For the supply chain, Sweeney said much of the damage was already done when the plant stopped building the Chevrolet Equinox in 2022 after nearly 2 decades of production. During the downtime, Cam Uniform said GM plans to retool the plant for BrightDrop's 2026 model year when the plant reopens in October. Expected to operate on a single shift, lowering staff levels to about 700 from 1,200. That is horrible. That, my friends, is horrible. And what we're talking about is that, this is bad management. Let's just put it this. This is horribly bad management. Somebody thought that these vans would be the bee's knees and everybody would want one, and they suspected that they could sell 1,000 a month, and they would sell so much better than the Chevy Equinox. Chevy Equinox was a great vehicle. I had a Chevy Equinox for a little while. It was decent. I liked that Equinox. Equinox is what most people are wanting these years anyway. SUVs with that kind of shape, or yeah, that's the Equinox. Yeah. It's crazy. It's horrible. It's horrible bad management on GM's part. It's horrible that a lot of people are going to either get laid off or are going to have to start working part-time, look for a second job. And this is not what the automotive industry is about. Growing up for me, the automotive industry was about making people have great lives. Most of the people that worked at a factory had made great money and had great families and built great things, and had more than one car and decent houses, and and it's all going to crap. It's all going to crap. I don't want to sit here and act like just because it's over in Canada that I'm not not unhappy about this, because I am. This is not a great thing for the people in Canada. And Canada's right across from Detroit, so I feel for the people over in Canada, because they're right there. And this is going to affect people, of course, over in Detroit as well. So it's going to affect a lot of the automotive industry. But let's keep going. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, because There was another story that USA Today did about GM and BrightDrop, and it was more about mounting EV inventory sparks mass layoffs. It's pretty much the same story. It's pretty much the same story, but let's check this story out. Let's check it out. GM drowning in unsold BrightDrop vans as mounting EV inventory sparks mass layoffs. Okay, General Motors all electric, and this is from Jackie Charniga from the Detroit Free Press, and this is from Sunday or today. General Motors all electric CAMI assembly plant in Ontario is halting production of BrightDrop delivery vans. Uniform said Friday. Uniform is Canada's largest private sector union, representing 320,000 workers. All right, yeah, this is pretty much the same story. So we're not going to just. It's pretty much saying pretty much the same thing, two shifts and everything. So we're going to go to bigger news for us. Is the simple fact that GM CEO Mary Barra's 2024 compensation rose to $29.5 million. And this is by Lindsay Van Hool, and this is from April 11th. Okay. Mary Barra received compensation worth $29.5 million last year as CEO of General Motors, a 5.9% increase as the automakers achieved strong earnings and executed on key business goals. Barra's base salary of $2.1 million was unchanged from 2022 and 2023, according to an April 11 filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Her stock awards rose 33% to $19.5 million, but options dropped to zero from $4.9 million in each of the past 2 years. Non-equity incentive plan compensation increased 27% to $6.7 million. That's a lot of hoopla just to say that she rich in the mug. GM's performance in 2024 was a clear reflection of the successful efforts of our extraordinary executive leadership team led by Ms. Barra to drive our strategic transformation forward and invest in the business to grow value for shareholders, Wesley Bush, chair of GM's Compensation Committee, said in the filing. Barra in 2024 again became the highest paid Detroit 3 executive, a distinction she held for 8 straight years before falling behind former Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares in 2023. Compensation for Tavares, who resigned in December, fell 37% in 2024 to $23.9 million. It fell 37%, guys. 37%. Now, that means that he was making, what, about $36 million? Something like that. Ford Motor Company CEO Jim Farley saw his total compensation slip 6.1% in 2024 to $24.9 million as quality in electric vehicle sales fell short of goals. Well, this is my thing, man. We know these companies ain't doing that fantastic. We know they're laying off lots of people in these factories and putting people on hold or whatever over in the factories in Canada. And for some reason, everything seems to be okay, and they is just getting paid. GM reported $6 billion in 2024 net income, a 41% drop, but pre-tax earnings climbed to a record $14.9 billion. UAW representing hourly employees received record profit-sharing checks worth up to $14,500. Those are the ones who still had their jobs. GM said Barra earned 310 times its median employee pay of $95,100 in 2024, up from 303 to 1 ratio in 2023, when the company said median pay was $91,778. See, these GM workers, they almost making $100K a year, but ain't coming nowhere close to what the president is making. Of course not. Compensation for GM President Mark Roos rose 2.7% to $18.5 million. CFO Paul Jacobson received an 18% raise to $13.1 million. Craig Litton, a former co-president of GM's Cruise Robotaxi unit, who retired March 31st as Executive Vice President and Strategic Advisor, received $20.4 million, down from $11.5 million in 2023. Roy Harvey, an executive vice president of global markets, earned $9.8 million last year. His previous pay was not disclosed. All right, man, that's all right. So what I am saying is, wow, these companies we know for a fact are not doing well. These companies we know for a fact had laid off millions and millions of employees. They shut down factories, had layoffs up to wazoo, had temporary layoffs and put places on hold here and left and right and here and there. And still, the GMs are making tens of twenties of the millions of dollars. None of that money is going back into trying to figure out how to keep these people's jobs and how to maintain these factories so we can keep them running. No. What it's done is, let's cut the fat. We're going to cut all this fat down at the bottom. All of these lowly workers in these factories, these lowly workers at these dealerships, we're going to cut that fat. That way we make sure that us up here, we get all the money. And it's a shame. It really is. It's a shame for me. Because I'm not, and here's the thing. I'm not here stating that they don't, to some degree, earn fantastic salaries. I'm not here stating that they don't earn millions and millions of dollars. They absolutely do. But for you to sit here and say to us that y'all have all these record sales and all these other things that are great that are going on, and then we look down the line and we see that people are getting laid off left and right, and you're closing factories left and right, and doing all these things that affect the little man, that in itself is a problem, because it makes it out to be a lie. It makes it out to be a statement that, you know, we're only doing good for the people up top, but the people down at the bottom, they not doing good. Our sales are not good for those people, but the sales is good for us. That, my friends, is a problem. It is a major problem for me. My whole thing on this show is about the automotive industry and how it has been so great for me and for so many people, and how it has built so many great opportunities for so many people. And over the last year or so, as we've done this show, all we've watched is the destruction of the automotive industry, the collapse of the automotive industry. And it's hard to watch, and that's why I'm so pro this whole Trump action but Trump action when it comes to the automotive industry, because somebody's doing something. Somebody's affecting some change in the automotive industry that we haven't seen in a long time. We've only seen it go down and down and down, and it continues to go down and down and down. So we have to hope that some of these actions that he's taking are going to give us the positive effects that we desire. And that's all we can ask for, because we continue to watch people lose their jobs and vehicles not be sold. I talk so much about how these companies, the GMs, you know, the Fords, they're gonna have to cut out a whole bunch of brands, a whole bunch of models. They're gonna have to get rid of this bright drop van. They're gonna have to sell it off to somebody else. They can't sell them. They ain't sold 300 of them, and they needed to sell 1,000 a month. It's not working. You can't just keep putting these models on the road because they're not being bought. Market share is not there for you anymore. And this is showing you right in your face that you need to stop putting out random vehicles. I just saw a Corolla pickup truck. You know how many models of Corolla there is? There's like 3, sedan models. I think there's 2 SUV models, the Corolla Cross, and there was another Corolla Cross. And I saw an article the other day that they're making a Corolla pickup. Who gonna buy it? Does Toyota hold that much market share? Corolla is a great vehicle. Got a lot of people who love Corollas. Who gonna buy a Corolla pickup? You gonna buy a Corolla pickup? It's what we always talk about. we sit here and we talk about how this bright drop is going to put these people's jobs on hold and affect all these people's lives, and they're going to go from 1,200 employees to 700 employees. And I realize it's Canada, but still, it's people losing their jobs, and I'm just not for that. And on the other foot, we see Mary Barra earning almost $30 million off the back of those people at Bright Drop. It's sad. All right, my friends. Beautiful, beautiful day in California. It's hot up in the studio. I'm about to head out. Probably hit the beach again because I feel like it. And I hope you can too. I'm your boy Chris Surratt. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. And I'm out. Peace.